Hi, welcome back. Thank you for returning. Today, we're going to discuss the difference between a liberal and a conservative. As an independent, I have no love for the Republican Party. As an independent, I have no love for the Democratic Party. In fact, I am much more angry at the Democratic Party because I am liberal. I was a Democrat. And when I opened my eyes, I saw what they were actually doing. So I say I'm a liberal. But what is a liberal? First, let's understand that 50% of the world's population is liberal, and 50% of the world's population is conservative. We are born this way. It is a trait. This is the nature part. But then there is the nurture part. If you are born liberal in deep red Kentucky to a very religious family, you will be by nurture conservative. But they may call you a liberal conservative. The opposite is also true for liberals. But what is a liberal? If you can take all the words that define a liberal and condense them down to a single word, what word would that be? That word is disruption. Liberals, by nature, are disruptive. Don't think looting, rioting. Both conservatives and liberals do that. Think more monopoly. When there is a monopoly, disruption comes, and that disruption is usually a liberal. If you think about occupations where liberals tend to flock, you notice that a lot of them become artists. An artist, let's take a writer for example, they see reality for what it is, but they can imagine an alternate reality, whether a dystopic novel about the future or a utopic novel about the future. They disrupt our reality. And that is a vital importance. We need this disruption. Another field where liberals tend to congregate is in the high-tech industries. The founders of these companies tend to be liberal. They see a monopoly, they disrupt it through technology. So for our story today, we are going to use Uber. As the legend goes, Travis, whatever his last name is, was eating dinner in downtown San Francisco in the early 2000s, and he saw a bunch of black car drivers just hanging out at these expensive restaurants, smoking cigarettes for like 4 or 5 hours, waiting for their clients to come back. And he imagined an app on their phones where he could give them a side hustle while they were waiting. This was the birth of Uber because at that time, San Francisco had a taxi cab syndicate. There were two, DeSoto and Yellow Cab. And if you lived here in the 90s and the early 2000s, you knew how difficult it was to get a cab in San Francisco. It was horrible if you lived out in the avenues like I did, or at 2 a.m., last call for alcohol, trying to come out of a bar, get a cab. There just weren't enough. This was prime picking for a liberal disruption that happened. If you leave liberalism unchecked, it leads to anarchy. Anarchy leads to tyranny, and tyranny leads to authoritarianism. Uber was past anarchy. Uber was a tyrannical company. If you were not a white male programmer, your life at Uber was really bad. So the lawsuits came, the board tossed Travis, and that was the end of him. So if we were to take all the words now that define a conservative and condense it down to one word, what would that word be? That word is order. Conservatives love order. Think of a profession where conservatives flock to. Yes, the police, the popo, whether it is your local PD, the state police, the federal police, they all tend to be conservative, because they see anarchy, they see chaos, and they run in to establish order. If you allow order to go on for too long, what do you get? You get tyranny, you get authoritarian, and you get monopolies. Name another industry where conservatives love to hang out. It is in the business world, the C-suites. So when the board bounced Travis, they installed a CEO who was conservative in his thought process, nuts and bolts kind of guy. Now they make money. And that is how it works. We need order to have a civilized society. a society of laws and liberty within those laws. But when monopolies happen, stagnation of technology happens, disruption is needed. This means we need each other. This is the yin and yang of order and disruption. It goes back and forth. The pendulum swings. So if we need each other as conservative and liberals, how are we the enemy of each other? This is the basis of my campaign. We need each other. We are not divided. We are only told we are. But how did they divide us? I saw a meme on Facebook one time, and that meme was a castle, probably England. On top of the castle was a king and his son. All you saw were servants, peasants, and half of them were holding pitchforks and the other half were holding lanterns. And the king looks upon his son and says, "No, my son, we do not have to fight them. We only have to convince the people with the pitchforks that the people with the lanterns want to take away their pitchforks." Does that sound familiar? We are getting divided up more and more, smaller and smaller groups, easier and easier to conquer. And culture war is the newest division that we have. We must lay down our culture war biases and work together. As always, in solidarity, my brothers and sisters. Until the next time, good night. And don't forget to subscribe and share my channel if you want a change in this country. Labor matters.